It's the Seddy Bimco show. That's right. I'm usurping control right off the bat.
Yeah, what episode is it?
Episode 89. 39th episode of Seddy Bimco 2.
Is that right?
I think I might be.
Nope. It is episode 88.
It's almost the holidays. And my dog's barking.
It is. It is on it. I mean, your dog is barking at the sound of hooves on the roof because Santa's here.
And we're going to watch 1988's Ernest Saves Christmas because George picked that later this hour. And also, George, going to answer the age-old question. Did Mr. Robert Carruthers ever get revenge on Superman for that day Carruthers was getting his root canal done? It was very painful. And Superman, he spun around the world and made it go backwards in time, thus making Mr. Carruthers go through all that pain and anguish root canal second time.
Christian, too.
Yeah.
Who is Robert Carruthers?
He just lived in California, when Superman spun around the world backwards.
Shouldn't he be happy that Superman saved him from falling into the sea?
No, he didn't know.
No, he doesn't care.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
It's the Seddy Bimco TV show, but today we're on a podcast, and we make up sequels to movies that no one should watch, and we pick a wild card, which I'm picking right now out of my jar, because after in this movie we're going to decide at the end, off the top of our heads, who from this movie would be who's most likely to bring up a Sasquatch during a bris. Bring up Sasquatch during a bris. Mention Sasquatch.
Mention, okay.
During a bris.
During a bris, okay.
Bris, my favorite cheese.
You should never eat cheese gotten from a bris, Tim.
So it's holidays.
Tim, you're still recovering from your illness.
A little bit. I sound better this week. I read a lot of news being sick. Ooh. So I do have something to tell you interesting about the Zapruder film.
Oh, that's not news.
Yes, it is.
I don't think you could call it news when it's something that happened in November of 1963. I think it's at best Middle Ages.
George, I read about how they used AI. They found some sound recording from that day. They matched up the sound recording with the Zapruder film, and the film was a mess, but they were able to separate the sound of the crowd and the gunshots and isolate a new recording that John Lennon was making that we never heard of before.
I knew it.
Surviving Men got together and they finished the song. It's going to be another new Beatles song. Can you believe that?
Wow, thank God. Because that last one, I mean, the Beatles did not have a rich enough career. I'm like, I wish the Beatles, with their dominating presence on pop music, I wish they just had one more song. And you know what? It should be real mediocre.
Are you grousing that you got to hear one more John Lennon song?
It's not.
It's his, though.
Hey, you know what would have been interesting? This is the thing. I'm just going to say this. This is a controversial statement. John Lennon, when he wrote that song, he did not intend it to be a Beatles song.
Probably not.
He didn't know he'd be dead in 4 years, but he wrote that in 76. He was like, this is for me. Yep. I'm going to write this. He did a demo. I guess it's him on piano. He's like, this isn't working. He left it. Then I guess sometime in the 90s, whenever they did that last time they did their new songs.
Yep, they tried.
They were messing around with it. And none other than your and my favorite Beatle, George Harrison, after laying down a few remedial tracks, he was like, you know what? This song doesn't work either.
How'd you know? How'd you know this?
Because I fucking read it.
Wow.
You're not the only one who has the ability to read things on the internet. Because I was wondering, actually, the reason I was wondering is because we actually, I think in this very podcast, not this episode, but a previous one, you were first telling me about this, and I actually asked, like, is George represented?
Right.
Because it ain't the Beatles without George.
I know, but he did play some.
Yeah, but it was a song he didn't like. It was a song John didn't like. I bet you the only person who liked it was Ringo.
Paul liked it.
Paul didn't like it.
Yoko?
Paul's recording this. This is Paul's last-ditch effort. He's like, I'm tired of it being Lennon-McCartney. I want it to be fucking McCartney-Lennon. Yeah. I want people to say my name first. Let me besmirch him by releasing this song. What's it called?
Then Now and Then.
Yeah.
I liked it fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized you're wearing a Now and Then custom T-shirt.
Yes.
Folks, if you want your own custom Now and Then T-shirt as illustrated by Tim Hamilton, write to us at Seddy Bimco with an E at the end, gmail.com.
Yep.
He'll send it to you free of charge. His promise.
That's your technology news of the day.
Yep, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
News Zapruder news.
Is there any? Do you have any revenge stories?
No, they're hard to find. It's close to the holidays, so we'll leave it alone.
Yeah, right? Nobody ever does anything bad during the holidays.
Nope.
Yeah,
we're feeling generous. We caught our 9th mouse. Can you believe it?
Are you kidding me?
Our live traps.
What is Soul doing? Shouldn't Soul's presence, Soul, your dog, shouldn't that be enough to dissuade these small mammals from coming into your house?
She's got so used to it. I take a bag to the park because it's a live trap. For those wondering, it just captures them in a little plastic house. And we look, look how cute, and we take it to the park. And Soul knows now, and she's all excited. She does want to chase it, but mice run right up trees like squirrels. I didn't know that.
I remember many years. Oh, it was rats. Many years ago, I was kind of wandering through Prospect Park and saw rats in the trees and was like, I will never feel safe again.
You didn't realize, huh?
It was really gross. I was kind of walking through the trees, like pushing through the bushes. Like, it was an interesting trip. I've maybe mentioned this before.
I don't know.
I came across a guy smoking weed too. He's like, "You want to smoke some weed?" I'm like, "Okay."
You said yes. Oh my god.
Yeah. I was like, why not? You only live once.
Yeah.
I took a puff or two. Then I immediately saw rats. I'm like, I made a terrible mistake. Rats in the trees.
Do you want to talk about this movie because it's the holidays?
Yeah, so I mean, in a sense, I guess the revenge story this week is I was trying to revenge myself upon Tim for various terrible movies he made me watch. Although I did kind of have an inkling. I'm like,
well, this is
general consensus about what's the guy's name who plays Ernest?
His name was his name Jim Varney?
We should know this. Yes, Jim Varney. People seem to esteem Jim Varney. He's not quite like a Paul Rubens figure.
I was going to say that. I was going to say he's a poor man. He's like he's Bizarro World Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, he's like I mean, like like whoever was like like that. You have like your Charlie Chaplin and your Harold Lloyd, and he's like and your Buster Keaton. He's like I'm not going to say he's the Fatty Arbuckle to them, but he's something a few steps down. And actually, I should mention, immediately, like as soon as this film, I watched this movie a little bit too long ago. We're recording on a Friday night. Mm-hmm. I watched this on a Monday, so I remember nothing. But luckily, my notes look like they're kind of neat. I immediately watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure afterwards. Like,
you know what? I watched that the other night too.
Did you really?
Yes. Yeah. Why did I do that?
Because this movie, it's the B version of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, and I want to say,
and people like Jim Varney, and it really wasn't awful.
No, it was just wholesome, like White Christmas. It was for the whole family.
It was again shockingly wholesome, yeah.
And I want to say,
had one very good joke, which we'll get to.
Okay,
and then the rest was like,
yeah.
Go on, Tim. I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No. I noticed watching Pee-wee again, like. All the scenes go one to the other, and this first time I noticed that when he calls, wow, what's his girlfriend? His girl that likes him.
Oh, Simone. No, Simone's the woman who goes to French. Dot.
He calls her from Texas, and remember when he goes, "I don't. Who are you? I don't remember." And he goes, "I don't know." No, I'm sorry. It's when he says, "I'm in Texas," and he proves it by saying the stars are bright, and everybody claps.
The stars at night are big and bright, and then all the passersby immediately stop, clap their hands, and scream, "Deep in the heart of Texas."
I'm not sure what scene it was, but something happened to him.
There's the other scene after he's in the rodeo. He's knocked unconscious after almost getting the world record, and the people have dragged him off to the side, and they're like, "Son, do you remember your name?" He's like, "I don't remember."
Yeah.
"Do you remember what you were doing here?" I don't remember. "Son, do you remember anything?" "I remember the Alamo." And then everyone once again erupts into cheers.
I think that's the scene that right after that, he just walks into the biker bar. And this is the first time I watched it thinking, wait, what happened? How did he get from here to the biker bar? There's a scene. It's not like bad. It's just, there's no transition. It's just one scene ends and then he just walks into a biker bar. And I'm like, this is the first time I thought, well, how'd you get there? Usually they show us you get, a ride in a truck, in a car. Anyway, I was wondering if there's a scene cut out that we never saw.
There's probably stuff. Though,
there's no Blu-ray.
I mean, we're going on to this Pee-wee sidetrack here. I did read, so I don't know if you noticed Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Maybe we need to do this on a future episode. It was co-written with Phil Hartman, among other. There's another person.
I do know that.
And they apparently used that famous screenwriting book, Save the Cat, to do it.
Oh.
And so they said, like, literally, it's a 90-page screenplay for 90 minutes of a movie. On page 30, which is the exact third, is when he loses his bike. Like they said, the screenplay is so mapped out exactly to like the formula.
Yeah, it is.
I know, it's great.
And then is it page 60 where he realizes there's no basement in the Alamo?
Exactly.
Really?
Like it's perfectly spaced, according to what this interview with Paul Rubens was. A super tight screenplay, like in my opinion, the best Tim Burton movie. One of my favorite movies in general.
Yeah.
That being said, Ernest Saves Christmas is not quite on that level.
No, it's just got a lot of trivia attached to it, as I was saying.
Yeah, I would also say, I was listening today, just so we know, so you all know, I was earlier today, I was in Washington, D.C. doing school visits. I came back up just a few hours ago. On the way back up, I decided to listen to a few old episodes of Seddy Bimco just to get myself ready for recording so I could hear my own thin, reedy voice and just our turds of jokes that we were floating out. And in one of the episodes I listened to, we make this statement: this movie is too good for Seddy Bimco.
Yes.
I feel like Ernest Saves Christmas might be a little bit too good for Seddy Bimco.
But it was pretty bad.
Yeah, there's still a lot to talk about.
So did you before you even get to the movie, John Cherry directed this, and I sent you. Did you see it? Or you've been busy?
No,
you didn't see the
video?
Yeah,
I only just got back, Tim. I didn't.
John Cherry directed a movie in 1999, which was a Laurel and Hardy movie. 2 different actors playing. I never knew this existed.
I did see that. I didn't get to watch the clip. I saw just the thing. I definitely recognize the guy who played Oliver Hardy was the guy in the reindeer scenes of this movie.
So you didn't see the trailer?
Nope.
Because it appears it involves the mummy, and they're like running from a mummy and everything. It's like
insane.
and the man from Amadeus, the man who's jealous, he's in it. Famous actor.
F. Murphy Abraham.
Yes, he's in that.
Wow. Guess he needed a new pool.
John Cherry is friends with the man who owns the intellectual property for Laurel and Hardy, which I'm outraged that somebody can just buy that.
Yeah.
Like, that means in the future when CGI and everything's really good, somebody's going to own that and just like make a new Laurel and Hardy. They're going to be like, we found a script they didn't make.
You're probably
Tim, Ringo says he'll help out and finish the sketch.
The AI Ringo that we've created. Tim, who do you think will own the property, like the legal property of Seddy Bimco?
Probably Disney.
And who will they cast to play us?
Disney, they'll own everything.
Who would play Tim?
Well, they're just being born now. Adventures? How would I know that?
Oh, you think it's be that far?
Yeah. But Lawrence Harmon, I became fascinated with this. I'm sorry. This movie's Lawrence Harmon. He owned.
What movie are we talking about right now? Are we talking Ernest Saves Christmas yet, or we're still talking Laurel and Hardy?
Harmon owns the intellectual property of Laurel and Hardy and Bozo, and he was Bozo. There's my little trivia. He was the first Bozo. Yeah.
I thought the first Bozo was beaten to death in a back alley brawl.
Probably by Lawrence Harmon.
I think by Alfalfa.
Not true. So don't sue us. You were probably a kid who watched Popeye and you're like, why are these cartoons really nicely animated? And then you'll see some color ones. You're like, these are terrible. Did you notice that as a kid?
I noticed that less with Popeye and more with Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Like, I think Tom and Jerry was the first cartoon that I could see, like, there was definitely, like, there's the early ones, the ones I actually still prefer to this day,
MGM.
That were done by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera while they were part of MGM Studios. There's nothing like Hanna-Barbera's crap.
Yeah.
And I always liked those ones. And honestly, when I was a kid, I didn't like the Chuck Jones ones as much.
I didn't either.
They were a little bit too gross, honestly. Yep. And then there was those ones that had like they were the ones by the Italian guy that had the weird sound effects.
Yeah.
They gave me literal headaches.
Yeah.
I had to turn those off. So like Popeye in general, I did find him kind of grating.
Oh, what? But the
Like his voice was a lot. I'm like,
Fleischer
oof.
cartoons
And
were
like,
really good, and then later they were terrible.
Yeah.
Well, Harmon made
He made
18
terrible Popeyes.
Yeah, he made the 18 terrible Popeyes in the 60s.
All right.
There, got all my Larry Harmon stuff out.
This is we're almost at a record here that we are, because we keep talking about other stuff.
Well,
we're pretty far in without having to actually really talk about Ernest Saves Christmas.
Ernest, you going to name all of his movies, or am I?
You're gonna, because I didn't look him up.
Oh, I had no idea he had so many. He had Ernest Goes to Camp.
I'm gonna guess he has 5, right? Can I actually guess some? I know
Okay.
Ernest Goes to Camp.
Okay.
Ernest Goes to Jail.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Saves Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, and you're looking like, the way you looked at it makes it like this is a bigger list.
There's like 4 more.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay. Wait. I remember the last one is Ernest Goes to Africa.
Second to last one. I'm scared to see what that was about.
Okay, wait. Just tell us the rest. All right, go on.
So you got Ernest Scared Stupid, 91.
Yeah.
Ernest Rides Again, 93.
Never would have guessed that in a million years.
Slam Dunk Ernest, 1995.
Never.
Ernest Goes to Africa, 1997.
God, you know that's a problematic movie.
Yes. Ernest in the Army.
How is that not?
1998.
Ernest in the Army.
Ernest Visits the Twin Towers, 2000. Oh, sorry. I don't think that one's real.
Man, if I was a year later, I think we'd have a new culprit for what happened in that horrible day in September.
So now, this movie from Touchstone. Touchstone.
All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, because
Disney, right?
Tim texted to me, and this is a totally accurate observation, so let's get this out of the way. Everyone in this movie is sweating constantly.
Yeah.
This is the moistest film you will see, because it's true. Like, all the actors are visibly sweaty. Not like pit stain sweaty. Like, they must have had a lot of gray T-shirts for Ernest to change in and out of real quick. But yeah, everybody's skin is like dewy with sweat.
It is.
And that's because this is the first film filmed entirely in Orlando, Florida, as part of Disney's MGM Studios.
Wow, I didn't know
They
that.
opened up their MGM Studios park and that thing down there, and this was the first film filmed entirely there. In case you're wondering why this is set in Orlando, here's the plot of the movie. I'll give you the 2 plot line. Santa Claus is looking for his replacement, and he has come to Florida to recruit a recently canceled TV show host with a heart of gold to recruit him as the new Santa.
TV show.
But he runs awry of Ernest P. Worrell and a young teenage runaway named Harmony, and they have many hijinks, and the end.
Okay.
That's the movie.
Wow. What a synopsis. Spoilers.
Hey, I was trying to keep it 2 lines because, Tim, you always bitterly complain that I do these really long synopses.
Yeah, I gave up on those.
So this movie opens up with a lot of classic illustrations of Santa Claus.
Oh, I was going to say.
You didn't know that's
how they afford those paintings. Norman Rockwell.
Touchstone, buddy. This is Disney movie. Yeah, there's Norman Rockwell's. There's if you didn't know that the modern conception of Santa Claus was largely created as part of a Coca-Cola ad campaign around the turn of the century, you'd be like, why is Santa Claus drinking so much Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
But that's why. So it's all, and they're playing like all these wassailing like songs and stuff, and it's kind of nice. I'm like, all right, there's some art in going into this. And then we don't start with Ernest. We start with this like little elfie guy. I know I've seen him in a million things.
Is he the same elf that's in the rest of the movie?
No. I actually, there are elves, so I shouldn't use that term. Yeah. The guy who played Santa Claus he seemed very elfin.
Oh,
which they do describe Santa as a jolly old elf, so maybe that's why. It's December 23rd. He's landing in Florida, and he's making all these. He's not actually being covert at all. He's like literally like, I'm looking for a replacement.
Yes.
And he's talking to like this guy that he just gets off the plane with, and like we're getting hints that Santa is magic. He knows people's names, for instance. There's just stuff they like
knows when they've been bad.
When he goes through customs, which I don't know why he's going through customs. I guess he's flying in from out of the country.
Yeah.
There's a TSA agent looking at his passport. and it says Saint Nick from Prussia, 1877.
He's never gone through customs his entire career. Yeah.
I guess not. Well, why would he? He's got a flying reindeer.
So I'm saying, why is he doing it now?
And this guy, he looks at him and he looks at all the other people, which I will say, I was fully expecting there to be some racism in this movie. And this is kind of the closest we get. He looks over the line of other people at customs prob, and there's like a guy fully dressed up as an Arab.
I missed that. I totally didn't see.
There's a woman who's wearing a hat made entirely of shoes. A bunch of weirdos, but
a hat made of shoes? Did you just say?
Yeah, it's literally like
I didn't see this.
She has.
Are you
really?
Yeah.
No, this is a visual gag. When he's going through, he looks at the passport of Santa, which says Saint Nick, Prussia, 1877, and then he sighs. This is the TSA agent, and he looks to the side, and you see everybody else that's in line. And it's a guy like dressed up as an oil sheik. Yes. And like this one lady, like she just has about 12 high heel black shoes arranged in a sombrero type shape on her head.
And he sees Phil Collins, and he's got a sombrero and a big mustache, and he's singing. He's an illegal.
It's probably reference to something, but I don't know what.
The video, Illegal Alien. It was so racist.
I didn't even know that was a song.
Genesis did.
Really?
And they dress up in sombreros and mustaches, and they wake up with empty bottles. It's a real thing.
No. All right, hold on. Adding this into my Illegal Alien. I'm not going to watch it now. This is for later, everybody.
It's a 1988 Genesis video. It's real. It's real.
Oh, my God. I see some of the pictures. Oh, wow. He doesn't have a sombrero, but he is wearing a black wig and mustache in the picture. Yeah. And so then the guy says, I hate my job. And Santa goes, it's okay, Skippy.
Yeah, Skippy.
Santa knows his name because Santa knows everybody's name.
Skippy, what a name.
Yeah, that's not a good name for a full-grown adult.
Before I forget, Mark Snow did the music for this movie. And you know what Mark Snow did the music for? He's been mentioned
X-Files.
On this. Yep.
That's insane, really?
Yes,
I wish I'd paid more attention to the music.
Mark Snow did the music.
Wow.
It was all synthesizer. So, it was like video release kind of music, right? If I remember.
This was a theatrical release.
Oh, I know. It made a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this was a big hit.
I'm like, wow, that's a lot of parents that took their kids or wanted.
So let me just quickly mention this part because this is important.
Okay.
Santa, the guy he's been talking to on the plane, just like some business guy. Like Santa's telling him, like, yeah, I used to know everybody, but now my memory's slipping a little bit. It takes a while. And he goes, I know what they all want for Christmas too. And this guy never seems to notice how weird it is. The guy goes, what I would love for Christmas is some snow. And Santa's like, that's funny. I could have swore you wanted a CD player.
Yes, a CD player.
File that away for later. Now then this movie does a lot of cuts between different threads.
Yes, because now
Ernest. And about this time, we finally see our titular hero, Ernest, who is I actually wrote down he's an Uber driver, but he's kind of like he's a cab. There's no Uber. He's like a cab driver. He has a guy who is in a hurry to get to the airport in the back seat.
Who's extra sweaty.
Ernest is so sweaty. This guy is very this guy's not just damp. This guy's like doused. And he's like, could you please hurry? And he's like weirdly British for some reason.
Yeah.
This is very interesting because then Ernest's like, don't you worry. Like, Ernest's shtick.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry about me, a partner. I could do it. And he drives like a crazy person. The back door flies open and this man is hurled out onto the street. And then for the rest of the scene, he seems to be a quadriplegic.
He does.
He's laying there completely paralyzed at the side of the road, not able to move. Ernest picks him up.
That was not a funny joke.
In the car.
It's weird.
This is not funny. This is why I'm like, I kept watching this. Like, is he ever going to recover? Ernest gets him to the airport. He still isn't moving. This guy's like rigidly locked in place. Like he's got rigor mortis. Ernest is trying to get him out of the back seat. His somehow like Ernest runs over some Japanese tourists' luggage, which I wrote down. Racism is narrowly avoided. I thought for sure that was going to go some terrible old 1980s racism against Japanese.
Yep.
Surprisingly doesn't.
Nope.
He gets the guy out. The guy's still not moving. He throws his carcass into a curbside like loading for luggage thing.
Yes.
And he spills the guy's luggage too. So he's throwing like loose clothes on top of this guy. We never see this guy again. That guy is dead.
Yes. If he got on that's
our hero.
He got on the wrong flight. I'm sure.
Yeah.
He never checked.
I mean, and also like he's literally unable to move. Like he clearly broke his neck when he came out and was locked in the place. It's terrible.
He woke up in New York.
If he woke up at all, I think he dies shortly after. He's being put into a luggage hold of some airplane. There's no heat there. The guy's grievously injured.
Should we at least tell people, if they're not familiar with Ernest, the way because you said you know how Ernest is. He became popular in ads where he would like talk to the camera as if he's talking to you really close. And
this is actually a very good, and like, so he has kind of a country accent, kind of.
Yeah. He's just a down
he wears
home
a great t-shirt,
kind of guy, and
baseball hat. He mugs a lot. A movie you've definitely seen that this guy has been in. He is the voice of Slinky Dog in the toy. Toy Story.
I only just learned that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the voice. If you pretended Slinky Dog had a head injury, that's the way that Ernest sounds. And in these ads Tim referenced, he would always be addressing this guy named Vern. You never see Vern. He's like, "Hey, Vern.
Yeah.
Hey, Vern.
Hey, Vern. Boy, I'm sure glad you switched from that uncola. Sprite's everything that stuff is. Clear, clean, caffeine-free. But Sprite tastes better, because only Sprite has liming. Know what I mean?
And it was just kind of like him getting very close, like uncomfortably close. So he's like a weird fish-eyed face to the camera and just saying weird gooberish things. I guess another thing is he mispronounces words a lot or uses the wrong words.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a weird character. It's a weird bit.
If you saw the episode, we talked about Critters, and you saw Critters. He's kind of like the Charlie, the mentally handicapped alcoholic.
The character you and Kumail Kablasto couldn't decide if he was handicapped.
He was both,
or
according
drunk.
to the internet.
And then it turns out it was both. The thing about Ernest, to separate it from that character, is Ernest does seem to have some sort of cognitive difficulty, but he's also sometimes surprisingly smart.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a very innocent man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he would drink anything.
He's so innocent. Well,
Though he's not so innocent, he didn't just clearly murder this cab fare.
He just picks up Santa.
Well, yeah, and then because he running up those people's luggage, there's a bit of a chase scene where the two tourists and a cabbie guy are chasing him, trying to get him. And he just happens to be parked in the right spot as Santa wanders outside of the airport, just gets right into that cab, and we're off.
Ernest picks up Santa. He's on the run from everybody whose luggage he ran over.
Yes.
And
is that your notes?
Yes. And Bobby. Bobby and these are the packaging.
Oh, you got their names. Good.
Bobby and Bill.
Who are Bobby and Bill, Tim?
They are in the packaging room, shipping room, and they get a package of reindeer.
At the airport.
At the airport. This is a gag that goes on through the whole movie. So dragged out.
We see a giant crate marked fragile being worked in.
Oh yeah, and it falls on Bobby comically. This movie's kind of comic humor. It falls on him and flattens him.
Yeah, again, like another character's maybe dead. Like they're like, Bobby, where are you? Bobby doesn't talk, which is also his shtick.
Yes.
And they pick it up with a crane, and you see like the special effects wizards behind this movie have affixed a flattened, dead Bobby to the side. I'm like, I guess that character's dead, but he does come back in the next scene. So then we cut back to Ernest and Santa Claus riding down the Florida highway somewhere in Orlando. And they're talking, and Santa, like, he's not making any bones about hiding that he's Santa, but nope. Ernest, because he's not as stupid as you might expect, he doesn't believe him. He's like, oh, you're crazy, but he doesn't say that. But then a car in front of them, a Christmas tree falls off and lands in the road in front of them. And Ernest jams on his brake and literally kills dozens of people in the most cataclysmic pileup. Again, wow, it just occurs to me, Tim, this movie did have some funds behind it.
It did.
Because they must splat. I was counting. There was a dozen cars involved, and at some point I stopped counting. So they're smashing up cars left and right.
So that he can save a Christmas tree.
Yep, he gets the tree. It's a very small little tree. He picks it up, puts it on there.
Says nothing sadder than a Christmas tree in a Florida highway than a Florida field mouse in a Oklahoma snowstorm.
Oh, I can't wait for this joke to die.
I just brought it back.
Santa and Ernest are talking. We're introduced to a running gag where Ernest is like, yeah, I was such a big Santa fan. I learned the names of all the reindeer. And he's like,
he doesn't say them.
On Donder, on Blister. He just can't, for some reason, he can't get Blitzen.
He's like me when I can't say Horderly. Whatever his name was. Is it Horderly? Did I get it right once?
This is the character Tim is referring to. Go back and listen to our recent episode, Rotor. There is a character named Dr. Howdley.
Howdley, I got it right.
And Tim wanders so far off from this guy's name. At one point, I think you call him Dr. Odenkirk, yeah, which has like maybe one letter in common.
That's better.
And then Santa reveals what he's there for. Yep. He's like, have you heard about Uncle Joe Carruthers? He was a TV show host who just recently had a show canceled. And for some reason...
It's Uncle Joe's Treehouse.
Was that the name of it? Uncle Joe's Treehouse?
I got that note here, and I've been thinking, what does that mean? Yeah, Uncle Joey's Treehouse. That's his show.
He was. I didn't know what to make of this character.
He doesn't seem wholesome to me.
Right?
He's telling the kids that the Ice Age killed the dinosaurs. He left out the meteor part. And I'm like, this movie has got this movie's got an agenda.
Yeah, I wrote down Dino Puppet Show erroneously claims dinos were killed by Ice Age. Yes. You know when the Ice Age was, Tim?
I know.
The Ice Age, dinosaurs died 66 million years ago. The Ice Age is like maybe 2 million years ago, tops. Yep. Come on. So anyway, this guy, Ernest happens to know that this guy is at the Children's Museum where he's giving a lecture on dinosaurs, telling them completely wrong information about dinosaurs. So off they go.
How does Ernest know that?
While they're en route, we meet yet another character.
Is this Harmony?
Yeah, Harmony Star. She is I would guesstimate she's like about a 16-year-old girl, but she's probably a bit older, playing that age.
Probably. I didn't look up.
And we meet her, and she's been caught in the middle of a dine and dash experience.
You see, I got distracted when this happened.
Oh.
And for most of the movie, I was like, oh, is this his niece? I mean, because she's like sleeping at his house on the kids.
Yeah, that's what's kind of odd, right? She's literally...
She's a runaway. He picks up an underage female runaway.
An underage female. And like, not like a little kid, like someone who's like, there is an air of like, about this whole thing.
Yeah, she's 17 or 18 or,
Yeah, and... like she gives this whole story to like the person who grabs her at the dine and dash, saying like, my brother does this to me all the time. She makes a break. She runs into the car too with Santa, with I almost said Alfred, with Ernest, and she's like, you have to help me. That's my uncle. He imprisoned me. So they dropped and slave her. Yeah.
She's like, they say I burned a hole in the rug. They're trying to burn a hole in the rug spiel on me.
To White Christmas, previous episode. I annoyed myself. I recently listened to the White Christmas episode. I had a new feature called George's Current Currency Kerner.
Is it going to be here?
Tim made a great theme song for me. I said it too many times. That episode, that's a rough one for me.
Where are we here? Santa meets Joe. Oh, meets Joe. Yeah. Joe's an old television children's TV personality. And he just says to him, every 100 years or so, got to pass on the Santa powers. They wear out the body. They eat up your life force, leaving you a dry husk. Now I want to pass it on to you, Joe.
And a little chest burster jumps out of your stomach. It's a little elf. And it runs in and attaches to the face of another person.
Joe.
And plants eggs in there, and the whole cycle begins anew.
Yes, it does.
I do want to, there's just a couple things we should mention.
Okay.
Ernest drops him off there, and he tries to pay Ernest in fake money because he accidentally gave all his real money to a kid last Christmas and didn't realize it.
Yep.
And
Monopoly.
Ernest quotes, in this children's movie, Ernest quotes Cool Hand Luke.
Oh, I missed that.
Did you catch that?
No.
He goes, what we have, but he because he's Ernest, he has one word wrong. What we have here is a failure to accommodate.
Okay.
I'm like, who is this for? This is for me.
For nobody.
Maybe Tim. I don't know. Who else is going to watch this and get that? So Santa makes his pitch. He's like, I need you, Joe Carruthers, to replace me as Santa Claus. And Joe, let's just talk about him really quick. He seems like a very earnest actor.
He does.
But he's like a guy I'd say like maybe like in his late 50s, early 60s.
I'd say he's got the personality of a Pennsylvania ball catcher trapped in a Florida snowstorm.
So now you know that's exactly it, folks. It's exactly what it is. A Florida snowstorm. But yeah, he's got a beard, but it's not like a Santa beard. He honestly,
I call him Beardo, by the way, just so I know who he is in this movie.
Yeah, call him Beardo for sure. He could, without changing an element of his appearance, could easily play a psychopath.
True.
It's weird.
He was in Amadeus. He was in Amadeus. I didn't look up his character, but he was. I have a big note here. This man was in Amadeus.
Really? I mean, I've definitely seen him in stuff. I think, again, because this is a real movie, there's real actors in it and stuff. It's like normally a Seddy Bimco movie. You look up if there is a Wikipedia page. There's a bunch of not links next to the people's names. This one, I'm sure everybody has a link.
And Ernest gets fired, by the way, from his cabbie job because he's harboring a underage female runaway.
That's not why, which he should have been. He's fired because he let Santa off by paying the free money.
Yeah, I know.
And we should mention this. This is an important plot point.
Ooh.
While Santa, who is at the Children's Museum, Ernest is left with the teenage runaway that he lives with now.
And oh, I was gonna say and Santa's sack. Is that the plot point?
Oh, they do have Santa's sack. That's important. Yes, let's mention that. Santa accidentally left his sack behind. While Santa is pitching to be the new Santa to Joe Carruthers, the guy we were just discussing, the Beardo guy, Joe Carruthers' agent comes.
Poor man's Gilbert Godfrey.
I was going to say poor man's Guy Ritchie.
Oh, really?
I thought it was Guy Ritchie. Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
We saw two different
things. People who have not seen this movie try to see the gulf between famous Hollywood handsome man Guy Ritchie and famous Hollywood irksome voice comedian Gilbert Gottfried. And I guess somewhere in the middle is this actor.
You can't see Gilbert. He's like a bizarro Gilbert Gottfried.
Very bizarre because he was actually a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
He is trying to get his agent, his client, Joe Carruthers, to take a role in a movie called Christmas Sleigh.
Yes,
but it's not spelled SELEIGH.
Don't give it away.
It's a slasher film.
Yeah. And Ernest drives off with Santa's sack. That's the other plot point that's important.
Santa's sack and the 16-year-old runaway girl.
They both open his sack. They're looking at it, and they open Santa's sack, and they say, "I thought it smelled bad on the outside."
Tim, these double entendres are beneath the humor of Seddy Bimco.
Yeah, this isn't the British Bake Off.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I have Ernest sweating. There's a lot of
happens.
sweating that happens here.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention this one scene. This is important for me.
Okay.
As Tim mentioned, this character first achieved fame as a character speaking to the unseen character of Vern. So she's like, "You must really be excited about this tree, Harmony, their teenage runaway." And he's like, "Oh no, I got it for a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend. I taught him everything he knows about nuclear physics." He says nuclear. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what is this going to be? We show up at this nicely done Floridian house. I guess it's nice. And I don't know. Florida houses all look the same to me. But he answers the door, and whoever it is slams the door in Ernest's face immediately. Yes. And she's like, "I thought you said this guy's your good friend." He's like, "Sometimes he's a little prickly like this."
We are Vern
Ernest forces his way in.
Way, if you want to
and then we're Vern.
Yes, we're Vern.
And Ernest comes in and ruins everything. He's talking to us. Yeah, I think he actually sets fire to parts of the house.
And you know what, George? This plot point's important to me too.
Oh, I called dibs and story first.
They'll be completely different. But yes, he's pulling wires out of the wall for reasons I can't understand, and stuff falls on the food.
Yeah, it's just this weird little like if you've ever seen the movie Doom, it has that one bit where it goes first-person shooter because the video game is a first-person shooter. This is like the equivalent of a first-person shooter in this, where we are the traumatized Vern, we the audience are the proxy, as Ernest mugs and gums and destroys all our possessions, and eventually somehow he leaves.
Yes, by video game Doom, do you mean where the tanks move around on the board and you shoot each other?
No.
On your Atari? Okay.
That wasn't called Doom, was it? Wasn't that called Tank?
So George, while I've taken over, I got my list right here. Let's get it out of the way.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know what? I think I didn't write a list this week.
I only ever write one.
So you go.
I was listening last week. You're like, only one?
I did like 5 last week. I was out of control.
So I have the 3 main reasons why everybody was sweating so much in this movie.
Nice. Good one.
The first one's obvious, George. What came out in 1988? A very popular videotape called Sweatin' to the Oldies by Richard Simmons. And everybody
really?
was sweating to the oldies in 1988. It did come out then. You guys can look it up.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's part of why they were sweating. The other reason they were sweating, guess what else came out on videotape at Blockbuster this year?
The Zapruder film?
Dangerous Liaisons. And everybody was renting it and pausing it all the time to see topless 18-year-old Uma Thurman.
I thought you were going to say to see the backside of John Malkovich.
Nope. That too. Depends what you're into.
Yep.
And the third reason, it wasn't sweat. It was tears of angels. Because every time you pause a videotape to look at 18-year-old Uma Thurman topless, an angel cries. So there's my list.
Was she really 18 in that?
She was. I looked it up.
I will say in my defense, I remember me and my friends watching that.
You paused it.
But we were younger than 18, so it wasn't creepy.
No.
She was like an old lady. She could have been 90 for all we knew.
But
we're like, why is this hag topless?
Right.
Man, I want to cut some of this stuff.
Well, we can do it quick. Ernest tries to get Harmony a gift out of that bag, but it's all creepy stuff that she doesn't want. His Santa's sack does not work.
It's the way Santa's sack works. We should say this. It's like this big red velvet sack, and you reach in and you pull out a glowing orb. It's like very much the effect from like Pulp Fiction, where like there's a light.
I thought that too.
And like first they look at that and they like you get that thing. And he's like, that's how Ernest realizes he's really Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does he see in there? Like, I'm like, but they pull out this globe, but then he holds it for his hand, and a little bit, all of a sudden it morphs into whatever he comes out.
Yep.
And Ernest keeps pulling out like corny, cheesy toys.
Pet Rocks.
Pet Rocks, of course. Pet Rocks.
The new
Zapruder
Talking
films.
Heads album, and she's like, I don't want that.
Yep.
I want the new stuff.
Yeah. What else? He pulls out canceled tickets to our American cousin.
Yes.
What else?
She doesn't know what they're worth, so.
No, he has no idea. She throws it away.
He pulls out a Pee Wee Herman.
He pulls out
doll.
a Sears Roebuck nice. He pulls out a Sears Roebuck catalog because then he has to go to the outhouse. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Folks, I hope that you've listened to every episode of Seddy Bimco so you could get these references, but nobody would.
Nobody would.
I don't even think Tim and I have listened to every episode.
So Santa goes to jail in Florida, which is typical. If you want to move this along, you want to cut stuff out.
Yeah, the agent, Joe wants to help Santa, who thinks he's a harmless, crazy person. The agent's like, I'll help him. The agent sends him to jail.
Yes, because he's having second thoughts about being in this movie, and this agent thinks this is his big break.
Yeah.
And then Ernest, he pretends to be the jail inspector with the governor's daughter, the teenage girl, and they're like, we're inspecting the jail, which is odd.
This was weird because she's dressed up like kind of like in the sexy Catholic schoolgirl uniform
and acting all innocent.
Yeah, and she even has her hair in the pigtails, and I know that is like a shorthand for like
little girl.
It's a little weird.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
you can tell she's older.
He gets into the jail.
20 something being in this.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yes, I hope.
So yeah, they go in there, and Santa has befriended all these hardened criminals.
Again, racist
in
movie.
The Florida penal
There's a lot
system.
of white people in this movie. When they go to prison, all black people.
No, I didn't even pick that up.
You didn't pick that up, yes.
No, I'm colorblind, Tim.
I know you don't see color.
They're all singing.
He teaches them to sing.
I do.
What?
Wait, stop the phone.
What?
Stop the phone. After he teaches them to sing, after they spring Santa.
George, just hold the phone.
No, we're stopping the phone.
Or stop the presses.
There is a scene where Harmony is left alone with Santa's sack.
Yeah.
The teenage runaway.
Yeah.
And she's reaching in and trying to pull out stuff herself in prison. She's pulling out globes and the wrong things are coming. And she says, I was going to wish. Oh, no. She actually tells Santa, I'm sorry. She was going to wish for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what this means, Tim?
Oh, it's time.
It's time for George's current currency Kerner. George's current currency Kerner. $1 million in 1988 Guess what that translates into for buying power today in the year of our Lord 2023?
Is it 10 million?
No, not that much. $2,660,000 and 233. Wait,
That's
no,
right. That was
$2,663,233.36.
okay. Woo.
Yep.
I'm glad we held our horses for that, or
Stopped no, you stopped
presses.
the phone. You held the phone. You stopped the horses. Yep. All right.
Held it down. Held her back.
And yeah, so they busted him out. They busted Santa out.
Well, first I do want to mention
Santa
they let
reveals
that little girl into the prison cell. The police are like, "Oh yeah,"
which is also weird. Yeah,
let's go visit and
because she's the governor's niece, I guess. But
that's more reason
I mean,
to bring her into a prison cell with prisoners.
Here's the thing, Tim. Let's be honest. Look at the current state of Florida.
Yeah, I know.
If assuming that there are people that would admit being related to current Governor Ron DeSantis, I'm pretty sure they'd be able to go anywhere they want.
Yes.
That guy rules that place like an iron despot.
Yep. Yep.
Like his 16-year-old niece is like, I want to go into the prison. My name is Rona DeSantis. They'd let him right in.
So
Santa, after they make the reveal, he does a thing. He calls Harmony by a different name.
Yeah.
Because guess what, folks?
He's really Santa.
She is a teenage runaway. Her name is not really Harmony Starr. He calls her Pamela.
Ooh.
And he says, this is very interesting.
He's like, Pamela Starr is our Harmony Starr is my porn name.
It sure sounds like one. Sounds like somebody, one of those Playboy issues you always make up. And Santa reveals, he goes, she's been this way since she was 8, and I brought her a doll instead of the mitt she wanted.
Yeah. And then
Santa, you created this whole problem.
This monster.
Why are you giving these fucking gendered gifts?
Then he says, you ever dance in the devil with the pale moonlight?
Oh, then
I
he
made
shoots
you,
that
you
rich
made
couple.
me. Why argue about it?
And he shoots that couple in the alleyway, right? He sticks the gun right on the lady's neck.
You're
and all
saying
these pearls bouncing on the floor.
He created this monster. I'm just saying. She's bruised.
Oh, I see.
That's why he says.
Look, you can't say Dance the Devil in the Pale Moonlight, not have me immediately start shooting people. Yeah. So at some point, Ernest dresses up as an old woman. I honestly didn't understand why. He goes in and talks to someone about something.
I have it here. Ernest dresses as an older woman and goes to the entertainment agency. Very risky in Florida, I write.
Oh,
to meet Joe.
He does that to find where Joe is.
Joe is having second thoughts about this movie he's in because it has nasty words.
Yeah, you take this over for a bit.
It's got a Nazi scene, and he doesn't think there should be Nazis in this Christmas movie.
All right, I'm taking it back to you. There's no Nazis. You fucking creep, you weirdo.
There's a scene in the movie where they show how horses become glue.
Please
He's like, no, I don't want to show
Bimco at the E at the end of Gmail and say, like, why does Tim, as soon as he gets his hands on the wheel, why is it immediately into Deutschland circa 1939? Why is it always Nazis?
No, I'm talking about horse glue now. Stop the presses, George.
Hold the glue.
Hold on to your molars, as I used to say.
Did you?
If someone from North Dakota got caught in a Utah twister, he'd say, hold on to your molars. Okay, anyway, let's go.
That was me vomiting, everybody.
So Joe goes to make the movie, though, and Ernest has to...
Can I interrupt quickly for the best joke of the movie?
Best joke? Okay.
Yeah. This was actually, I thought, really funny. As Tim mentioned, we keep cutting back to these two guys who are handlers in the luggage. Mike and what?
Billy. One of them is famous from being on Hee Haw. I don't know if you'd notice that. But
I didn't know that. No.
He's an illustrator. He was on Hee Haw, and he was an actor. I looked him up. He did
That's pretty cool.
Illustrations.
Good for that guy.
That's what we do, audience. We illustrate.
We're also on Hee Haw.
One of us is.
I'm Goldie Hawn. That's Laugh-In, not Hee Haw.
Yeah, it is.
I confused the two shows.
Hold the presses, folks.
Hold the presses. I'm not Goldie Hawn. I'm actually Kurt Russell. So we didn't mention there's a scene where like the crate, it's full of reindeer.
Yeah.
They burst out and they're doing like almost like a Jurassic Park thing, but it's before Jurassic Park where they're screaming.
Yes. Then
one of the reindeer is walking on the ceiling. It's a pretty cool effect. They're walking upside down because they're flying reindeer. Yes. And so now there's multiple reindeer, like 9 reindeer have come out or 8 reindeer.
They look angry.
And there's a scene we just have a close up on these two guys on the ground. And one of them, I think Mikey, just opens up an umbrella, and opens up ahead of him. And he says, "Call me cautious if you want to, but better safe than sorry."
It's your one poop joke.
That's a good joke.
It's okay. It is.
Yeah. Next time we see him, he's bespattered in shit. It's not true.
Well, then they hide in the kitchen and like, we'll be safe as long as those reindeer don't learn how to use door handles and open doors, right?
And then they climb over an electric fence, and the fence turns on, and they're okay. They get shocked, but their hair sticks up funny.
Billy doesn't say much, but he's like, anyway. He never asked if you could. I totally forgot the line.
Oh, I get what you're doing. You never asked. You never stopped to think if you could, but if you should.
Yeah,
that's my Jeff Goldblum.
You forgot
Wait, now I sound like the Count from Sesame Street. So they find out from Ernest dressed up as an old woman that Joe Crothers is working on this particular movie set. In order to sneak onto the movie set, Ernest does another disguise as a snake handler.
Yep, snake handler.
And
it's a smart disguise.
And so they get him onto the set.
No one wants to touch
those
snakes.
He brings Santa on the set. They have left. I think they leave Harmony home with the sack, which seems like a bad idea.
Yep, with Santa's sack.
With Santa's sack. Tim.
Hey, it works for British Bake Off, British baking show.
It's true. Hey, they get good ratings. Why not? And we finally get our look at what's happening with Christmas Sleigh. We see a very cute scene where Joe Crothers is with two young children actors, and he's going through the scene where it's like, "Okay, kids, go to bed," and the children actors walk off the set, and then like a weird fucking fish monster comes to the door. Yeah,
and Joe Crothers has to say, "Get out of here, you!" He's like, "I just can't swear."
Yeah, this is a big plot point. Son of a, I was gonna write a list here, but I didn't.
What words that Joe can't say?
Well, yeah, like son of a what?
Yeah, we can't say it on the show.
No, we're G-rated.
And he's like, and look out that window. They're showing how horses are made into glue. I don't like this movie.
And then Santa punches out the director.
Yeah, the lamest punch I've ever seen in a movie.
Like, I get it. The guy playing Santa was probably in his 80s. He was an old guy. But if that was your best take, and then the next time you see the guy, he's got like a big bruise. I'm like, really?
Well, in Florida, that's called a Santa punch. If you want a Santa punch in Florida, it costs about $200.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a DeSantis joke you were making. A DeSanta punch, maybe? I don't know. No. So let's see. Harmony has the sack.
This is the point. By the way, I thought the movie was totally wholesome. This is the point where my wife walked in and she said, "Well, who's that girl?" And I'm like, "I guess she ran out of a restaurant. She's his niece, right?" Because I was.
Oh, this is because you didn't know.
He's like, "Why? It's a teenage girl living with Ernest." I'm like, "Come on, this is a totally innocent little film for the whole family. You're putting all this." And
I will say, despite this, it reflects maybe more on Tim and I and the world, general darkness of the world. Because there is, even though it is, to my mind, especially nowadays, it is weird to have this guy in his like 50s, which is what Ernest is probably, hanging out with this teenage girl. It is weird. It's a little odd for sure.
You should at least be 25, like in White Christmas. If you're going to be 50, you should date a 25-year-old.
Well, they're not dating though. That's the thing.
No, I'm just talking about
Ernest is definitely completely. That guy doesn't have a.
No.
He doesn't have an amorous bone in his body.
He was chemically neutered by the state of Florida, I think.
Oh no! Oh, that's awful.
Finally, two elves show up. I don't want to miss them.
That's true.
I just want to miss them because they were very old. I felt bad for them being this. They were like super old people.
And they were definitely actors, I reckon. One of them was a woman playing a man.
Patty Maloney. No, she.
Oh, you looked.
Yep, she was in the Star Wars holiday special. She was in an episode of Star Trek.
Holy fuck, you're right. She plays Lumpy. I knew I'd seen her stuff. She plays Chewbacca's kid, Lumpy.
Mm-hmm. She's been in a lot of stuff. Love Boat, Addams Family.
Well, who did she play? Was she Cousin It?
That I didn't read.
Okay. And the other guy I'd seen too. So yeah, there's these two elves, and
I thought she was very obviously a woman. You say she's playing a man, but I wanted to mention that. But if I don't forget, Ernest says, "See you later, fellas," because I was like, "What? Yeah, one of those is a woman."
That's why I thought she was playing a man. She's
like very obviously a woman.
He refers to her as a he or seemingly as a he several times.
Wow, that's funny in Florida.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a woman.
At some point we should mention Joe Carruthers shaves, and it's very upsetting looking.
For Santa. And for us, yeah.
This guy looked upsetting with the beard. This guy looked way more upsetting without a beard.
See his tattoos after he shaved his beard.
Yeah, that was weird. Like so many like white power symbols on his face.
Those teardrops.
What a strange move. No, that's true. So all right, let's just get to this. Harmony steals the bag and is going. She also gets some money. I think she also steals some money.
It's pronounced Santa's
and she goes
sack.
down to
Harmony
she has Santa's sack. Yes, you're right.
Goes to the train station.
She goes to the Amtrak and like slaps down as ever much money she has. Unfortunately for George's current currency, Kerner, we don't see.
No.
She goes, "How far would this get me?" And the guy's like, "Miami." So I'm like, ugh. And pardon me. And he's like, "But the next train isn't for hours." So she just spends the rest of the movie basically waiting around this train station to take the train down to Miami. Santa knows this is going to happen, but he has such faith in her because he knows she's really Pamela. And the reason she became evil is because he gave her a doll instead of giving her a mitt. And he's like, "I have faith this will all work out." But
she sits next to an annoying family. I'll say.
Oh, such a terrible
Two
family.
annoying
Such
kids.
a 90s family.
Why? Why are they 90s?
They just looked 90s.
Okay.
The 90s was the era of floppy hair. Like if you were like a white boy in the 90s, your hair became like a floppy mess.
Yeah.
And this kid had floppy hair.
Yep. They're ugly fighting. These kids.
They're
That's
ugly
what I
fighting.
wrote.
Yeah, well, the boy keeps telling the girl over and over again how Santa's not real.
Yeah.
Like that's his thing. And she's like, "Why would you say such a terrible thing?" And I guess the arc for Harmony is she keeps hearing this and she's like, "I feel bad about this because I know Santa's real and I stole his sack."
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm cupping Santa's sack in my hands right now.
Okay, too far.
There, are you happy? I did the horrible joke. Okay. Cut that out. Cut that part out. I like it. The elves show up, like Tim said, because this package that was being held, which was the reindeer, was being held for what the two guys were reading as Elves.
Ah.
And Ernest is trying to get the elves. And I mean, the reindeer, the guy's like, "Is your name Elvis?" And he's like, "No." And then the elves show up. They go, "It means elves. We're helper elves." And
they steal it.
They get, well, they don't steal it. He gives them it.
Oh.
They take the reindeer, they put it into a big U-Haul, and Ernest immediately rides the wrong way on those sort of spikes and pops all the tires.
Yep. So, of course, what do?
And they're like, "Oh, no. We forgot to mention, there's a ticking time clock. Santa needs to appoint a replacement, Joe Carruthers, by 7 p.m., or the magic of Christmas will disappear forever.
And he will dry up into a
basically, and I guess. The way it is said is that he's been Santa for like 155 years and he really enjoyed it, but he held on to too long. And that's why he's beginning to get forgetful. And you get to be Santa for a certain amount of time, then you need to pass it on to somebody else and it's renewed and you get your powers back. But he did a little bit too long because he loved helping all the kids so much. So if it doesn't, he waits the last possible second. If this guy doesn't agree by 7, like Christmas dies.
Yep.
Christianity crumbles.
It will snow asbestos.
It'll snow asbestos everywhere. Bing Crosby will return from the dead, hungry for human flesh. He'll be saying, "I'm going to eat your brains." It's going to be out of control.
But. Oh, yeah. Ernest flies the sled with the reindeer for some reason, even though the elves must know how to do it.
Yeah, but they're little, I guess. I don't know.
But they're telling him how to fly it the whole time. And he's like, and he can't remember the names. On Nixon.
"Don't worry, I'm Ernest. I can do it." And he can't.
On Ernest.
No, it's a mess.
On Blitzen, on Nixon, on Pee Wee. He doesn't know their names.
Well, no, he gets all the names but Blitzen. He just can't get Blitzen.
Oh. What's he say?
I think he does say Nixon, though. I think you're right. I think.
So they fly around. They do the whole shtick like, we're falling. We're going up. And they fly around the world super fast like Superman. when he reversed it.
Yep, they're like literally breaking the sound barrier. The elves are screaming. One of the elves in a scene that's shockingly violent is suddenly sucked out by a backdraft. And we cut to a 747 where the elf suddenly just flies into the engine and goes, and it's just a red mist. And there's a little kid. You zoom in, watching the whole thing as a single tear drops down her eye.
They could have.
Weird, right?
Weird. That was
Why
weird.
was that? Such an odd thing. Meanwhile, Santa has shown up. He's all depressed because, like, I guess I had faith in the wrong people. Joe said no. Harmony stole my sack. And he's talking to this old lady played by Billy Bird. Yeah. And like he seems to have game with her. I'm like, Santa's hitting on Billy Bird.
She's famous.
And then Harmony shows up again. She's like, Santa, I'm sorry. Here's your sack back. She gives him back a sack. Mm-hmm. And then Joe shows up and he's like, Santa, I'm sorry. I want to be Santa Claus. And Santa grabs his hand and his beard grows back. Thank God, because I was sick of that guy's face looking that way. Tattoos. And he becomes Santa. His beard comes back white.
Yep.
And he's got on the Santa outfit. And he's like, do I have miracle powers? And Santa's like, well, I remember one nice gentleman had a wish. And we see the business guy from the beginning who Santa thought wished for a CD player, but it was for snow. Mm-hmm. And he's berating people on the phone. Yes. I don't care if it is Christmas Eve. You get that work done.
Get me my CD player.
And then Joe Carruthers, as Santa, makes it snow. Yep. And the snow comes down in Florida. And he's like, you know what? Never mind. It's snowing. Why don't you go home with your family and kids? And because this is Florida, we're not used to snowfall. You'll be on the road, probably lose control of your vehicle, and die in a fiery wreck. Merry Christmas.
Now I'm going to put my Traveling Wilbury CD into my CD player.
Ooh, which one? Was it Wilbury's Volume 1 or Wilbury's Volume 3?
Wasn't it one that came out in
Because,
88?
of course, there was no Volume 2. That was the joke, because the Wilburys were delightful scamps. Was it with Roy Orbison without? I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I made Tim sad.
But you know what? They found a recording Roy Orbison did, and they decided.
Oh, and it was a voice memo. He was like, "Remind, go to the store and get cat litter." Like, we could make this a hit.
They made a song out of it.
And George Harrison laid down tracks in the 90s.
Before he died.
This is garbage. I hate all this crap. I'm George Harrison. So everything seems to be in place, right?
That's the end.
And Santa Joe's like, I'm going to go out and give toys to all the kids in the world. Everyone's like, he's like, where's the sleigh? And Santa's like, you don't have the sleigh? And they look at each other like, Ernest. And we do see Ernest, like, as Tim said, zipping by at like light speed through the atmosphere.
Yep, Jor-El comes
traveling
up
so fast
like,
that oxygen is actually igniting in trails behind him. The whole atmosphere is catching flame. Mm-hmm. The entire temperature of the planet, despite the snow in Florida, is rising dangerously. It's a mass extinction on the level of the one that killed the dinosaurs.
That's why they're sweating.
That's why they're sweating. Oh, Tim, add it to the list.
That's why Jor-El suddenly appeared and said, no, you must not interfere with humankind.
Wow, was it played by Marlon Brando?
Yeah, of course. He was still around.
Oh, I didn't recognize him. Oh, that's cool. I thought it was Russell Crowe. So we see the surviving elves, and Ernest are screaming, and then Ernest says, like, stop, and like they just plummet out of like low orbit, and they're falling to the ground. Like, and luckily they stopped right above where Joe and Santa and Billy Bird and Harmony are. And they're plummeting, getting faster and faster. And just as they're about to splatter and kill everybody, they stop. And Ernest looks at the camera and goes, air brakes.
Should we go to revenge or no? Is there important things? Do we get the?
Yeah, there's two more important things.
Okay.
So they get the sled.
Remember.
And Ernest is all kind of sad because he almost destroyed Christmas and maybe killed everybody. And Joe's like, because Joe has a heart of gold. He's like, you know, Santa, does it say anything about I couldn't have someone else drive the sleigh for me?
Oh, that's right.
And Santa's like, no, it doesn't. So he goes, come on, what do you say, Ernest? You've had more time in the seat than me. Yeah. So he lets the man who almost destroyed the atmosphere fly with the two elves. They fly off. And then Santa and Billy Bird
start making out.
Bone zone on. Oh, and also Ernest brings Harmony with him because I guess she's his kid now.
No, she said, I'm going to go home to see my mom, remember?
Yep. No, because first, couldn't you be my honorary elf?
Yes, okay.
He does. This is for real. She is saying she's going to go talk to her mom, but like first she's going to be an honorary elf that night. She helps Ernest.
Can you imagine when she gets home? She's like, Mom, I slept over at this older guy's house for a while. Hung out with some elves.
She's like, get out of my house, you trollop. That's why I kicked you out.
I held on to Santa's sack. I mean, I had all sorts of adventures. And I'm back.
I think I'm going to say, Tim, I think it reflects poorly on us. We made so many Santa sack jokes. I feel like we're not good people.
I just want to give an example that her life.
Did
what
you
her
see
mom
the
would hear.
mid-credit scene?
This is what her mom would hear.
This is true. Her mom's going through some rough stuff coming up. Did you see the mid-credit scene?
Was it a preview for Ernest Goes to Africa?
No.
Okay, I stopped.
We cut back to our two friends in the freight container thing.
Yes. The Easter Bunny arrives. Sorry.
Well, you thought there was a package that says E-Bunny and big ears come out. You think it was the Easter Bunny?
Yeah, what'd you think?
Enormous bunny.
Enormous bunny?
Enormous bunny, yeah.
From what?
I don't know, just a big bunny.
Oh, okay.
I see me broke out and killed them seconds after. All right, let's go to revenge.
Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge.
One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
All right, so let's go to revenge. The wild card question.
We always fall down so hard on the wild card. Sometimes it's
you
great.
want to stop doing them?
Sometimes it's great.
You want to stop doing them?
No, I don't. We can't. We can't admit failure in front of our listeners. What was the question?
The question was, who will be most likely, who from this movie is most likely to bring up Sasquatch during a bris?
Who would bring up Sasquatch at a bris? I just say...
Presumably Sasquatch's parents.
George Costanza on Seinfeld. Let's leave it at that.
But he's not in this movie.
Oh, that's right. Vern. Vern would do it.
Vern
would just...
Definitely
talk
Vern.
about he saw a Sasquatch the other day.
Yep.
He would say... And Vern... I mean... Vern is his friend. Ernest would say this to Vern.
Oh, because Vern is the actual Moyle.
Yes, he'd be talking in his face.
And he's distracted. He's like, Ernest, you got to stop talking to me. I'm trying to give this baby a circumcision.
That's true. That's it.
You know we ain't got a circumcised penis, Vern? That's Sasquatch.
Good. There, we did it.
There.
Let's go to revenge story.
I think that's also the only that's the only decent halfway decent Vern. I mean, Ernest, we did this entire time too.
Oh.
All right. Can I do my revenge story?
You're worried I'm stepping on yours, so go ahead.
I mean, we probably are. I think so.
Play the music.
So, oh, there it goes. That's nice music. Let's all sit here and listen to music for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice. So, as we heard in this movie, there is the bewildering bit. Before we realized, Ernest, like we said, bears repeating, he achieved fame by pestering the off-screen antics of a guy named Vern.
Mm-hmm.
And pestering him with antics off-screen. You never saw Vern. Nope. And we do learn a little bit about Vern here. We see Vern's house, and we learn that Vern, everything he knew about nuclear physics, Ernest taught him.
Okay, yeah.
And he says that specifically in regards to, like, does he have a nice house? So apparently, this fortune was made with nuclear physics. So, as we see in this movie, Ernest shows up and just fucks over Vern's holiday special.
Yep, does.
Holiday things. Also, I should mention, just worth mentioning, I don't think Vern's a Christian. He didn't have a tree and stuff.
No.
He's probably just like, he's probably just being like, he's just a Jew, wanting to have a low-key, like, December. He's like, I was just going to go out, get some Chinese food that day, just kind of enjoy the quiet. And you come here, you're forcing your Christianity on me. Like, I appreciate you taught me everything you know about nuclear physics, but I'm my own man now, Ernest. I need to give voice to these problems I'm having.
We're hearing Vern talk.
I'm Vern now. Because we're all Vern in the movie.
What's his voice sound like?
I've used this power, everything you talk about nuclear physics, I've made what I call a gamma bomb. And I put it out in the desert.
George.
What?
First of all, what does Vern sound like?
Like that. That's exactly what he sounds like.
I'm just like,
he's a nuclear physicist.
Marvel comic.
And as he beckons, he's like, I made a gamma bomb. He looks out and he's like, what? What is that I see out there? And he looks. And he's like, is that a teenage runaway playing a harmonica on the bomb site?
Okay, we'll give you this.
And he yells to his assistant, he's like, hold the phone. Something's going on. He grabs it, he gets in a Jeep, and he races out across the desert to get to this. And he hears this harmonica playing. He gets up, he's like, you gotta stop. There's a bomb. And he looks, and you know who that teenage runaway is?
Harmony.
Harmony Star.
Yes.
She's playing it. He grabs her, he throws her to a ditch, and just as Vern is about to throw himself in the ditch afterwards, the gamma bomb goes off because Ernest taught him how to make it wrong.
Ugh.
It went off too soon.
Uh-huh.
Tons of rads of gamma radiation irradiate poor Vern.
Okay.
Vern, I should mention, is a pseudonym. His real name is Robert Bruce Banner.
Oh, come on.
And he's irradiated head to toe. And he becomes the Incredible Hulk. And you know what he does?
Smashes.
He smashes Vern. He smashes Ernest.
Jeez.
He just fucking... You remember that scene in Avengers where he ragdolls Loki?
Yeah, no one does. No.
No, nobody knows that famous scene. He grabs Ernest and bangs him back and forth until Ernest breaks apart like soft bread.
Jesus.
And then he jumps off to have adventures in the Marvel Universe. The end. Hear that clap?
No more. You just keep doing IP. Keep doing IP we can't afford.
That's right. Wait, you have to pee? Should we stop?
Jeez.
Oh. It's all owned by the same people now. Touchstone, Marvel. It's all the same folks.
It is.
Ernest is part of the MCU.
My story. Start the music. My revenge story.
All right.
You didn't step on mine too much. So Joe is Santa. Enjoy
yes.
it.
Wait, was he already Santa or is this after Joe's Santa?
No, I'm just saying this is the sequel. It's Joe is
yeah.
Joe is Santa,
okay.
And he enjoys his job.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And every year he'd come to the Blockbuster Video in Orlando around the holidays to rent videos because he knows all the people there. He likes that. That's where he lived. And so...
Oh, God, what does he rent?
Does
he rent critters?
He likes the town and everyone who works there because they know who he is and they keep, his identity on the down low. And well, it's been a few years. This movie picks up a few years after the end of Ernest Saves Christmas. And Bob Santa, I'm calling him Bob Santa, just to differentiate here. His favorite star...
You're calling him Bob Santa even though he's clearly Joe Santa.
Is it Joe?
Joe Carruthers.
Joe Santa. I'm going to call him Joe.
You literally said his name 2 seconds ago.
Called him Joe Santa. I don't know what happened.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe Santa.
Bobby Joe.
His favorite star was Sharon Stone. He loved her in Casino, and he loved her in Total Recall, and he was really looking forward to renting the new video release with her in it called Basic Instinct.
What? Is that the one with the leg crossing?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think it is.
But by the time he got to the Orlando Blockbuster that year, many people had already rented it. Santa Joe talked to Billy, the manager, and Billy said, Ernest, he's the one that rented Basic Instinct all the time. He wore it out all the copies, but this one copy. So Bob Santa rented that one copy. Yeah.
Can we just admit that it's really disgusting to think of Ernest watching that? Like I said, the only way this works is if he's got to be a completely asexual being, and him watching Basic Instinct,
Don't think of it.
Ugh. All right.
So Bob Santa rented that one copy of Basic Instinct. Is it Bob Santa?
Uh-huh.
There's a Joe.
No, Joe Santa.
Joe.
Just go Bob.
It's Joe. He took it home to watch, and wouldn't you know it, the point where Sharon Stone crosses her legs has been paused so much the image is worn away and the tape is worn out. What? And Santa looks close.
Ernest.
And, he's got Santa powers, so he knew right away. Ernest was the one who was naughty. He wasn't nice. He did this.
Oh, of course, because he knows the lists.
Yep. So he heads over to Ernest's ugly house to confront him and get revenge on him for ruining most all the Basic Instinct tapes in Florida. But Ernest, he's over at Vern's house watching Basic Instinct with him. In fact, he's over there watching another copy he bootlegged. And he's been pausing the tape so much at Vern's house, he causes a fire and he burns Vern's house down. Just,
Does Vern Hulk out and smash him?
This is a different universe.
I don't think it is.
So Santa wanted revenge on Ernest, but by the time he got to Vern's, Ernest was headed to the hospital with smoke inhalation. And Santa's heart melts a little bit, and he goes to the hospital, and he doesn't really want Ernest to die. So in the hospital, Santa holds Ernest's hand, and he gives him a little bit of the Santa power. But Ernest, he's a jerk. He won't let go of Santa's hand. He sucks up all of Santa's powers. He
like a Dracula.
Yes, he becomes Ernest.
What an asshole.
Ernest Santa.
Oh, no.
And Ernest tries to lie about pausing the video and say it wasn't him, but he knows Santa knows everything, so he admits it.
Wait, does Joe still have Santa powers, or is he a desiccated husk?
Joe is still there. He's back to normal.
Okay. All right.
But Ernest, he admits it because he can't lie to Santa. And he knows why Joe Santa's there. And he was after him for the Basic Instinct tape. So Ernest gets back on that sled with all the reindeer, and he speeds around the Earth backwards at super speed, backing up time to before he paused all those Basic Instincts. even though Jor-El rises up and says he must not interfere with humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man who just criticized me for using pre-existing comics-based IP has just brought in Jor-El, the son of the father of Superman.
Everyone knows him.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes back into time, and instead he rents 1991's Bikini Summer. That's what Ernest rents. It's rated R, and he pauses it in a lot of places.
I'm looking this one up.
He also rents the Zapruder film and pauses it a lot because he's got a lot of theories. Anyway, just to throw that in there. So, back to the present, all is good. Ernest gave Santa his powers back, and Basic Instinct was restored. Except one day, Ernest's friends Vern went to rent Bikini Summer and found it to have been ruined by some other person who paused all over the film and wore away all the pictures. And as he sat there looking at his blurred video image, Ernest came by and flooded his entire house after using Vern's bathtub. The movie's called Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. Come on. Sex, Lies, and Videotapes.
I was too busy. I was looking up bikinis.
It also could be called Girls Gone because the videotape has been worn away. Girls Gone, ellipses, because the videotape has been worn away.
Girls just gone. Yeah, they're just gone.
Girls gone.
They're not there.
George.
What's up, Tim?
George, we're done with all that. Yeah. Let's stop talking about that.
I know. Thank goodness. What an episode that was, Tim.
Yes, we got to get out of here because we talked for 3 hours.
I'm hepped up on goofballs.
So, who's picking the movie next week? Me?
Yeah, I think it is you, Tim.
Guess what, George? Got a big surprise for you, Mr. Greek mythology expert. I picked.
What are we going to do? Clash of the Titans?
Nope.
Are we going to do Jason the Argonauts?
Oh, it's Hercules in New York.
Hercules in New York. Wait, I know this film.
1970. And if you watch it on Freevee on Amazon, you'll hear Arnold's voice. If you watch it on Tubi, they originally dubbed his voice, and you'll hear his dubbed voice because they're like, Greek god don't talk like no Australian.
Or Austrian, as it may be.
I mean, Austrian. Man, I messed it up.
Also, I'm sad to report, having watched this movie recently on Tubi, it's also the Arnold Schwarzenegger dub.
On Tubi it's dubbed, but on Amazon it's not. It's Arnold's
Amazon.
voice.
You said Tubi.
Oh, it's called Freevee. I don't know if you get that. Some station that shows movies.
Yeah, you got to watch
the
commercials. No, thank you.
All right. Oh, so we'll see you all next week. Love us and like us on everything.
We're going to pump you up with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Hercules in New York.
And no too much. Okay.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Hot, ain't it, Vern? Look what your buddy Ernest has brought you, Vern. An icy cold Sprite instead of that 7-Up you used to drink, because only Sprite's got the great taste of lemon. Sprite, Vern, just the thing when you're working up a sweat over one of these old off-brand air conditioners, know what I mean? Well, there's your problem right there, Vern. You see that little wire right there? Looks like it's got a little something in it. My daddy used to work on them.